I think it is the most striking primary ad I perhaps ever seen in my life.
Look, if one of the two parties is trying to steal an election through authoritarian means, like, you kind of got to talk about that, right? Welcome to Political Experts React, where we break down political ads in media, explain what the people behind them are trying to accomplish, and decide whether or not they did a good job. I'm Dan Pfeiffer, former communications director for Barack Obama, and joining me today is Cornell Belcher, the founder of Brilliant Corners Research and Strategies, a polling firm that worked with the Obama campaigns in 2008 and 2012. Cornell Belcher, welcome back to Political Experts React. How you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic. How are you, sir?
As good as you can be these days.
I've told you how to speak it into existence, so I'm fantastic.
That should be the Democratic message for 2022. It's fantastic. We're gonna speak inflation out of existence. All right, the first ad we're gonna watch is from Gary Chambers, a Democrat running for Senate in Louisiana.
They said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." But here in Louisiana and all over the South, Jim Crow never really left, and the remnants of the Confederacy remain. In 1873, when a black man named P.B.S. Pinchback won a U.S. Senate race, he was never seated. They claimed election fraud. The attacks against black people, our right to vote and participate in this democracy, are methodical. Gerrymandered districts are a byproduct of the Confederacy. Our system isn't broken. It's designed to do exactly what it's doing, which is producing measurable inequity. 1 in 13 black Americans are deprived of the right to vote. 1 in 9 black Americans do not have health insurance. 1 in 3 black children live in poverty. It's time to burn what remains of the Confederacy down. I do believe the South will rise again, but this time, it'll be on our terms. I'm Gary Chambers, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
All right, Cornell, as someone who has done many, many races in the South, what do you think about this ad? Can you run in the South by running against the Confederacy?
We should clarify, he's in a primary, right?
Yes.
Yes. For a general election, it's problematic in so many spaces. But we're talking about for a primary. If you're lucky, you get 20, 25% to vote in the Democratic primary. And you're also talking about a state like Louisiana, where you're talking about a disproportionate share of those primary voters are going to be African Americans. Even among white progressives, this ideal that, they're not pro-Confederacy. I think it is the most striking primary ad I perhaps ever seen in my life.
Right. He is swinging for the fences, throwing Hail Marys, whatever the sports metaphor you want is, they're doing that. This ad looks like no political ad that's ever been made. It was created by one of the strategists from Andrew Yang's campaign. It's worth noting that for our audience is that this is Louisiana. It's a state that Trump won by 20 points. One thing I can tell you, I don't know if we can win this race, but I do know that if you do the same old shit that everyone else has ever done, you're going to lose by a margin larger than Biden did. This is the second very unique ad that Gary Chambers has run. He has another ad about the legalization of marijuana and drug policy that is evocative, I would say. And like this one is attention grabbing. And that's one thing that we have to think about.
This is a candidate who, quite frankly, without that ad, we wouldn't be talking about it. From that perspective, I think is exactly the ad that he needs to do in order to shake up things and get himself in that race. He has started to do talk shows across the country and being able to raise money. So I really would love to see what his fundraising numbers look like.
I haven't seen his fundraising numbers yet, but I would note that Gary Chambers' previous ad, the one about legalization of marijuana, it was shared in the Crooked Media Slack. Elijah Cohn, the producer of this show, immediately donated without even knowing what he was running for. And when I told him it was a Senate race, he thought it was a House race and maybe we had a chance to win. So if it worked on Elijah, who works for a political media company, I think it's probably working all across the country.
I will note that it also worked for some of my friends who, by the way, who are not inclined to give money to someone in a losing Senate race.
Yes. The next ad we're going to watch is from the Democratic Super PAC, Priorities USA.
And now we have to use Republicans to take care of the election frauds.
Last time was just a test run. Donald Trump is putting people in place now to dictate the outcome of the next presidential election in Congress and in states all around the country. We stopped him once.
Donald Trump will be denied a second term.
We need to to show up, speak out, because every vote we take this November is a vote against Trump.
This ad was put out on or around January 6th, that was the context to it. So I want to get your analysis of the ad, but I also want to ask you about this debate in Democratic politics about how much of our campaign we can make about January 6th in the overall assault on democracy.
I'm glad you brought that up because it is an annoyance for me. And because it's annoyance for me because it's as if we can't chew gum and walk at the same time. Like we can't communicate more than one thing. I think it's devaluing the Democratic base. Like the Democratic base cares deeply about democracy, cares deeply about voting rights, cares deeply about losing their, being disenfranchised. But we shouldn't talk about that and talk about inflation. Why is this an either or proposition? This is a case where I think I'm glad there's super PACs out there who will take up a line that I think is important, that will, in the end, the conventional establishment will say, well, let's not talk about that at all because and I'm a pollster, because X scores higher on a poll. And I think that misses the point entirely.
Look, if one of the two parties is trying to steal an election through authoritarian means, like you kind of got to talk about that, right? It's like, it is the elephant in the room, literally. This is a part of ads that I think is underappreciated. Some Democrats believe, including the people at Priorities USA, believe that it would be good for the Democratic Party if January 6th is fresh in people's minds when they go to vote in November. We can't rely on the media to do that. So we're going to need to use our ads, spending a little bit amount of money, put a little rocket fuel behind that and make sure it gets in front of the people who are not on it as a course of habit, just like watching CNN 24/7, right? How do you get them looking, like paying attention to it?
Especially like this ad, if it's targeted toward sort of energizing and mobilizing.
Authoritarians want you to think you can't do anything about it. Our message has to be is that we can stand up against it because we've done it before. And I think that is what gives this ad some agency and power to the voter. Where the challenge is going to be here in the end for everyone involved is how you close the circle and weave together what is happening in the pandemic, inflation, inequality in our economy, with how elections are being rigged.
Hey there, I'm the producer of this series. I see your comments every week. I know you want more content, and today you're in luck. Every week I send Dan a ton of ads, and only 3 lucky ads make the final cut. But today we're gonna look at one that almost made it. I'm just gonna show you a little bit. Let's not watch the full thing.
Save democracy while you can.
Call your senator now.
Tell Daisy we love her.
Did you know that those 2 people in that ad are actually Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry? If you're going to use celebrities, keep them recognizable. Don't use so much makeup on them that you can't tell who they are anymore. That defeats the whole purpose. I'm going to use another example here. In one of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans, they had Jamie Foxx cast as one of the villains, and they put so much CGI on him that he was just this unrecognizable electric blueberry. And it's like the Marvel producers in the new Tom Holland Spider-Man saw that and thought, wait a minute, this is Jamie Foxx, one of the most well-known, well-liked, famous people. We have to let him be himself in this movie, and it was great.
I like it.
Anyway, if you're going to use Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom, make them clearly Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom. That's your little bit of extra ad analysis this week. Hope you enjoyed it. We read those comments here on our video team. We pay attention. We really appreciate you guys. Subscribe to the channel, please. And now, back to the show.
All right. The last ad we're going to look at is an attack ad on Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson.
You are failing us, Senator Johnson. Protecting our democracy has never been partisan, and yet you refused to investigate the deadly attack on our Capitol. Access to the polls matters to all Americans, and yet you blocked voter protections that have the support of Democrats, Republicans, and independents. You are more committed to the lie,
by and large, it was all peaceful protests,
and rigging the system to retain power than you are to protecting Wisconsinites. The challenges facing our democracy aren't partisan. It's time Senator Johnson puts country over party.
This ad is running in Wisconsin, which is one of the states that is going to absolutely determine whether Democrats not only hold on to the majority, but have a chance to expand it. Ron Johnson is probably the most vulnerable Republican incumbent in the country. And so this is an absolutely essential race.
I like this ad. I don't love this ad.
Yeah, this ad, it was like an ad that you could train like a computer to make, right? Just like let it watch 1,000 Democratic super PAC ads and just like set the AI on its own, and this is what it would make, right? It looks like every political ad ever. So if you're just watching TV, you see it, and it's just like voters hate political ads. They're skeptical of politicians. So you're just like announcing to them, right? Thing you don't trust coming through. Don't pay attention. I think I like the fact that they show that he opposes voting rights protections supported by the majority of Wisconsinites. The other thing that I liked about it was it said that he opposed investigating January 6th. January 6th is the issue that unites almost everyone, right? The insurrectionists have like a 15% approval rating. Polling shows like 70, 80% think it should be investigated. What do you think about the country over party message?
I think that's the piece that strikes me, because it does put him in a box where he is not putting country first. His ideal that he's putting something above country. And I like the fact that they didn't actually go straight to Trump in it and make this an ad about Trump, but it made it about something bigger, made it about the country, which is something that we hear all the time in focus groups is, they're up there in Washington and they're fighting for this interest, they're fighting for themselves, their self-interest, and they're not fighting for all of us.
There are some elements to a message there that could work. And I think there's something that I've been sort of playing with around party over country, put your country over party, which is there a way that Democrats can take some of the things Republicans have been doing around, endorsing political violence or lying about the election or spreading misinformation about vaccines that allows us to say that that's un-American, right? To try to regain the mantle of patriotism from Republicans, which is essentially what Obama did. Like that's how he rose to power, was sort of redefining patriotism as the effort to fix your country, to try to improve it, right? That's the moral arc. We have lost that and allow that to be sort of redefined around us. And can we use the truly anti-democratic small d messaging and actions of the Republican Party to do the same thing to them?
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. And look, I mean, there's still a values consideration that I think Republicans, which boggles my mind, how Republicans still win on a values consideration of sharing their values. And also, last point on this, Dan, is when you look at the polling data around who Americans think are the more extreme, they don't necessarily think that Republicans are more extreme than Democrats right now. How could that possibly be?
Yeah, we are in that case, we are losing the information war wholeheartedly. We have one party is endorsing political violence. The other party has a set of positions supported by 65% of Americans, and we seem like the minority, right? So it's like that is a problem. Cornell Belcher, thank you so much for joining us once again on Political Experts React. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And if you want to get involved in defeating Ron Johnson, who is bad in every sense of the word bad, go to votesafeamerica.com. Thanks for watching these ads with us. If you have anything you'd like us to look at next time, let us know in the comments.